Welcome to Universal Interiors. I am Uni, and I'm with Matt Moore from Moore Gunsmithing out of Frazee, Minnesota. We talked in our last segment about how to clean a gun in the inside. There's more to do.
Yes, there is. It's good to take the stock off of the gun so that you can use a correct size screwdriver. It's good to buy a gun specific set for the tips because every gun has a different size screw, and if you have the wrong size screwdriver for the job, you can mar up the screws, and that brings the value of the gun down.
Not to mention you strip the screws.
Well, yeah, you can
Sure.
damage the screws, but if you show marring on the screws themselves, you know, guns hold value and some guns gain value, and if you start damaging them when you're disassembling, you will just bring the value down on it.
Sure, makes sense. All you gun men probably look right at that right away, I suppose, right?
Yeah, when you're going to look for a firearm, you know, a used one, you're checking to see if there's any damage.
How would somebody, is that like a paint job, or is that the way the wood was?
It's laminate, so it's many layers of wood sandwiched together.
It is so beautiful.
And then take that out. Pull that bolt back out. So now this firearm is disassembled as far as you really want to go at home. You know, you don't want to start pulling trigger parts apart or anything like that. And you can take your brush with some solvent and clean in here. You know, clean these parts out, get all the dirt and grime and powder fouling out of there. And then, you know, I hit on this before, you take some of this and you can spray that out. I'm not going to do it in here because it'll kind of get all over. But you would clean this up. And
give us some 101 on this too. Like, is that the clip?
This would be the magazine here. This would be the magazine follower. And when you load the shells in from the top, this pushes down. This is what is called the blind magazine. So on the bottom of the stock here, there isn't an opening for, you know, some of them will have a plate down here, and some of them will actually take a detachable box magazine.
Wow, magazine?
Yes.
Is a real term. That's crazy.
Yep. A clip is what you use to load a firearm.
Gotcha.
You know, it holds shells in it and you can slide it in. That would be a clip.
All right, I'm just showing my girl power here. It looks like that kind of, right? A clip?
No. A clip and a magazine. Some people refer to the magazine as a clip, but it's not the right terminology for it, you know.
All right. Okay.
So now we've cleaned the inside of the gun. You know, you can, inside here, you can take your brush and clean inside here, and this one's already clean. So then to oil the outside of the firearm, you just want a thin layer of oil, and I'll just spray some aerosol on here. And then you can just wipe the firearm down and leave a thin coating on it. And what this does is it keeps the rust away. You know, when you store a firearm, really it should be in a place that the humidity is controlled.
That's a good point.
Because otherwise you'll get surface rust on it, and you want to keep your gun oiled to keep the rust away, because, you know, rust detracts from the value and ultimately can cripple your firearm.
You know, it's good to have a good, healthy fear. You know, this can do a lot of damage, and
Yeah.
obviously you keep it in a safe place, but
Yep.
I just think this is a really interesting, like we were talking about before, it's good to know. I know that you're not a safety guy, but it's good to know, let's say that there's an animal lurking and you're the only one there. It's important, you know.
It's important to know how the firearm works. Before you ever pick a firearm up, you need to know your ins and outs of gun safety, you know. And then even more than that, you need to know how the gun works itself. If you don't know how to load the firearm, and you shouldn't use it until somebody shows you how.
Right.
You know.
Right.
You know, you always want to stay away from the muzzle and you know, the end of the barrel, and you always treat a firearm, whether it's loaded or not, like it's loaded. You know,
right.
An empty firearm, you know, really can't hurt you, but if you treat a firearm like it's loaded at all times, then if it is loaded, say you go and you grab a gun off the shelf and you think it's empty.
Right.
If you treat it like it's empty, you're going to do things you wouldn't do if it was loaded. Always treat it like it's loaded.
Right. Right. I just wanted to touch on that because sometimes people are a little bit, you know, this is a little bit of a nervous topic to sometimes talk about, but it's a great thing to know about, and it's a source of food in the hunting time. And
firearm is a tool, you know, it's
right.
And if you know, all tools can be dangerous. I mean, you need a table saw; it can be dangerous if you don't use it right. It could be very dangerous. Same thing with a firearm.
That's a good point. Really cool. All right, well, let's get this little buddy back together and see.
All right. Let me put this back in here. And then you drop this in. And always keep track of your screws.
What does the tag on there show, that it's a licensed gun?
Well, this one I have logged into my business, so it's basically just showing that, you know, it's logged in. If I have a customer's gun come in, since I have a federal firearms license, I have to log everything into a logbook, and that way the ATF can come and they aren't thinking I have a stolen gun. They can track everything. You know, it's not something where the gun is truly registered, but it's oh, wrong one. Got me nervous on TV. When you're doing this, it's good to start everything slightly so that all the screws will line up right.
Kind of like a tire.
Yep. Then you aren't cross-threading, because you definitely don't want to cross-thread this, because then you'll have to bring it to me and I'll have to re-thread it for you.
Or maybe you do. Maybe you should suggest that you just go crazy with it.
Yeah.
Gunsmithing sounds like it's like one of those things you do back in the day, but it's all here today.
Yeah.
As well.
I mean, there's so many firearms being sold right now that it's definitely something that the trade is still there.
Well, there it is, front, inside and out, cleaned out. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.